For the foam, we're going to use this Rockler tool foam, and you can find this online or through their stores. This foam is generally used to basically line toolboxes so you can put tools in it. You can see here I've done that with some of my pliers and wrenches here. But in this case, we're actually going to use it on the wall. I have a small piece of foam left over from a previous sheet, so I think it might be the perfect size for this project. I'm going to start laying out these corner clamps that I want to store on here. And the best thing to do is basically kind of Tetris them and figure out what the best layout of space is, and just kind of play around with it before you make any cuts. Next, we're going to go ahead and basically take a razor blade, and these cheap razor blades from Harbor Freight work perfect for this. Make sure you got a nice sharp break off one of those little segments so you have a nice sharp blade. And what I'm going to do is basically go around and essentially outline it first. You don't need to use a marker. You can just use the edge of the blade. And you're just going to go through and outline it. You don't have to be precise. This isn't rocket surgery. You're just simply making lines. You're scoring lines around it. You're not trying to go through all the way through the sheet. You're simply just going to score it. And you can see here when I lift the tool up, it'll leave an outline. And then from that point on, you can cut it without the tool in the way. The corners, make sure you get in the corners good. There you go. There's your outline. And now I'm going to go through and start with a sine motion, kind of cut down. Now this foam is about 1 1/8 inch thick. You can kind of gauge a little bit of exactly how far you need to go down, so you can try to get that tool as deep as you need to into the foam. I don't want to cut all the way through the back with this piece. This corner clamp isn't that deep, so I only need to go through about halfway through the sheet. So what I'm doing, like I said, I'm going around and I'm just sawing through, and I'm going to go through and cut through as many layers as I need to in this foam. And then once I have that, you can see I can kind of get my nail under that between those layers and start peeling those layers up. So I'm going to show you this first one, and then I'm going to speed it up and do the rest here, but you'll get an idea. Now the foam's going to rip and stuff, and it just happens all the time. And you just kind of work it from the other side, and it's not going to look nice and clean exactly like the top. It's going to be a little ragged underneath, and that's okay. Because when the tool's in there, it's exactly what you need. And if you see here, it doesn't fit quite right. There's a little bit more I need to take out. So I can kind of reach down and peel another layer up. I can pull off anything or need to cut a little bit more, a little deeper, I can do that. So just take your time, work around. It'll come out just fine. Don't be too retentive about how exactly this is. It'll just work out, trust me. Okay, with the first clamp done, I moved on to the second one. And then basically the plastic ones work exactly the same. Basically outline them and cut them out. Then I'm going to move on to the little clamps. These are a little more finicky because they're a lot thinner, but the process is exactly the same. It's just a little tighter. You want to keep some spacing. I like to keep about a 1/2 inch between parts. These clamps, I've kind of nestled them right up against one another because they're fine. But some of the big parts, I like to keep at least a 1/2 inch of foam between each of the parts, just so it doesn't rip or compromise. But I'm going to go through and do the corner clamps, and we're all done. Next, I'm going to go ahead and find a piece of 1/2 inch plywood, and I'll look up in my lumber loft because I must have a scrap up here somewhere. Next, I need to basically cut out a piece of 1/2 inch plywood backer that this foam is going to mount to. This doesn't have to be exact science here, so I'm just basically laying the foam in, and I'm just going to make a little tick in the corners. I kind of want it. I'd rather the foam fit tighter than looser here, so if you want to kind of tick it a little bit on the tight side, that's what I would do. And I'm just doing that on both sides, and then I'm just going to basically take a square and basically extend those lines through, and then I'm going to basically take it over to the saw and we'll cut it down. On the table saw, I'm just going to quickly cut this piece of plywood to its correct dimensions. And then next I'm going to measure the width, or basically the height of the foam and the plywood backer together. And it's about 1 7/8, somewhere in that range there. Back over the table saw, now I'm just going to go ahead and cut the side pieces to that 1 7/8 inch dimension. And then a quick turn over to the miter saw to basically cut the pieces to length. You want the side pieces to be about, 2 of the side pieces need to be 1 inch longer because they need to overlap the other sides. If you want to see how effective my dust collection is, watch when I make this next cut. Watch the little piece, the cut off piece. It'll disappear, and that is the actual dust collector sucking that piece in. That's how well my new dust collection system works with the changes I made to this miter saw. Okay, with all the pieces cut, I'm going to go ahead and give all the pieces just a quick little sanding just to basically make sure that take any of the splinters off the edges and make sure I give a nice smooth glue surface. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, and then we'll get to glue up. So with all the parts ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and glue the sides on, and then come and brad nail them, or basically use a pin nailer with 1.5 inch pins. It's important that when you're pin nailing, hold the pin nailer perpendicular to the board, and that will prevent the nails from blowing out the side. If you hold the pin nailer parallel to the board, the nail could shoot sideways based on the shape of the nail or the brad. So if you hold it perpendicular, you're less likely to get blowout from the pin nail. Next, I'm going to use some 3M Super 77 spray adhesive, and I'm going to spray adhesive all within the tray here and also on the back of the foam. You only got to give it like 15-20 seconds to set up, and then you need to press it in pretty evenly as soon as you can. If you wait too long, the sides can get sticky and the foam will stick to the sides and you'll never get it in the tray. So if you want to be safe, you can just spray it on the very back. That way it doesn't get stuck on the sides. But basically do the back and on the back of the foam as well. Make sure you go around and press it down pretty firmly, getting all the little individual pieces and nicks and crannies to make sure it kind of sticks to the back. Once you do this, you can pick it up by the foam and the tray will come with it. At that point, they're kind of one, and you'll never get them separated without destroying the foam. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on the cleats. So I've cut some cleats. These are just standard cleats that I've used for everything. And I'm just basically going to brad nail these in place and then go back and put a couple wood screws in to hold them in place. Now I can go ahead and basically put all the tools in place. So here I'm just going to basically put all the corner clamps in and all the various little pieces that go with it and check for fit on everything, and then we'll go ahead and hang it on the wall. Okay, and we're all done. So here you see I've got it here on the wall. It's hanging off the French Cleat wall. It's basically the same design as this smaller one here in the middle. I started with that one. I built that one, I don't know, 6 months ago or so. And then I decided I needed more of these clamps, so I bought more of these clamps. I couldn't find these other clamps that I had bought, and you find these on eBay, and I guess they're a knockoff or something of a woodpecker's design. I don't know. I bought these before I'd even realized woodpecker made the same thing, but if they were woodpeckers, I wouldn't have them because I couldn't afford them. But these are, they're $20, $30 little clamps, and they're square. I compare it against my little machinist square, they're square. This last set I bought came with all of this. It came with the plastic ones, it came with the metal ones, and it came with these little corner clamps. And I think it was like, I don't know, $24 for the whole set. Checked all those out. They're square. So why not? I'm not a professional woodworker. I'm not building customer projects. This is all hobby stuff. So for my purposes, they're just fine. They fit my budget. The same design that I showed you how I built with basically a piece of plywood backing and some sides, and glued and bradded together has worked great. This one, like I said, over 6 months. This one, I've had this one over 9 months. This holds all my layout tools. You can see there's one or a couple spots missing. And that's because if you remember when I was building this, I was using some of these tools. So when I'm done now, all I can do is just walk over and snap these right back onto the wall. And I know instantly if anything's missing. And in the 9 months that I've had this one I should say, nothing has ever fallen out. As long as you've cut the foam deep enough and you cut the foam narrow enough. And what I mean by that is when I'm cutting, I want to cut slightly at an angle inward towards the tool. So as I press it deeper into the foam gets tighter on there and holds it. What's going to make those fall out is having too loose of a fit. You want it firmer than looser. Let's just put it that way, tighter than looser. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you how I build these. They're real quick to build. This Rockler foam is great. It's made for toolboxes, but as you can see, it works great as a vertical tool holder. You can hang it right on your French Cleat wall and you can move them around. The great thing about these is if I'm doing a lot of projects, like if I'm going to use all my layout tools or I'm going to use all these clamps, I just pop these off the wall and take it with me wherever that project may be. It works great. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button. Want to see my next video? Hit the bell button, you'll get notified. Give me a like, leave me a comment. Get out in the garage and build something. Bye.